Hello everyone, my name is Elisande, and what I'm going to be showing you today is how to sim your character using the Raidbots website and the Simulation Craft add-on. I'll say up front, this is for maximizing your DPS, so if you are a healer or a tank, this may not be useful to you unless you are trying to maximize your DPS for high-level mythics or something like that. I'll also be showing you how to simulate your Great Vault rewards so that you can try and pick the best piece from your Great Vault that you can get. So before we begin, the first thing that you're going to need is the Simulation Craft add-on. The Simulation Craft is an add-on. You can find it in CurseForge or whatever add-on manager you use. The one you're looking for is called Simulation Craft, all one word, with just an uppercase S. This is what the listing looks like in CurseForge. This add-on does very little. It's very easy to use, as you'll see here in just a moment. Make sure you have this installed first, and then we'll move on to the next step. So once you've got this add-on, in your WoW interface, you're going to see an icon on your minimap that looks like this. It says Simulation Craft. We'll be clicking on this in just a second, but this is what you're looking for. The next step is you want to go to your vault and open it up. Once you've got your vault open and it has generated some rewards for you, the next thing you're going to want to do is now press this Simulation Craft button that we were looking at just a moment ago. This is going to give you a funny looking output. All you need to do for this is just copy. So on a Windows computer, that's Control-C is the copy, and hit OK. And that's it. I'm done with Simulation Craft entirely. No need to worry about it anymore. From here, we're going to go to the Raidbots website. Jump over to Chrome. Go to the Raidbots website. It's raidbots.com, or if you prefer, you can just Google Raidbots. It will be the very first option in your list here. Now we're trying to compare gear to figure out which one is the best piece, so we want to select the top gear option here. And in this top box, you just want to clear out whatever's in there right now, if there is anything, and Control-V to paste in what you just got from your SimC add-on. Now as we begin to scroll down, we're going to see a bunch of options in here, and I'll talk about what these things are and how they're useful to you. So what you're going to see here is a bunch of categories. Each one of these categories corresponds to one piece of gear that you have equipped. So for instance, in the back slot, I'm wearing this cowled batwing cloak. In my inventory, I also have this Decadent Nathrian Shawl and the old BFA Legendary Cloak. Same with chest, I've got 3 chest items that happen to be sitting in my inventory right now. And if we look over here at my wrist slot, we can see that currently, this highlighting means this is what I have currently equipped, are Moss bindings. Above that, we see this Grim Pursuance melee, and in the corner here, it has this little tag that says GV. GV means this is what's currently in my Great Vault as a choice that I can take. Now the way Top Gear works is you can select items that you want to compare against what you're currently wearing. So in this case, I want to know if these wrists might be better for me, so I'm going to click this. Now this is highlighted and it will be included in the simulation. I'm going to scroll down and do this for the other slots that I have options for. So in my main hand, I have potentially this Lyre of Decadent Frivolity. Also, I can select these other 2 Great Vault rewards. One is a staff and one is a wand. And then we're going to continue to scroll down here. This next section is for comparing enchants if you want to try and figure out which enchants will be optimal for your character. In this case, this is a low-level character. I'm not really trying to raid optimize this, so I'm not going to choose any enchants. I'm just really wanting to compare the gear. Down here, if there are any gem slots in your gear or in any of your choices, you can select which gem slots you'd like to compare to find out which gem is right for you. There's also a section down here for your talents and soulbinds in case you want to compare something different than what you're currently using. I'm going to leave all this alone for the moment. Okay, now we get down to simulation options. Now, by default, all this stuff will be collapsed. The only one that you may be interested in, most likely, is simulation options. And there's really only two things that I want you to be concerned with here for base simulations. The standard default is going to be patchwork. Patchwork means it's going to simulate you fighting one boss where you basically just get to cast all your spells and you don't have to move a lot or anything like that. This is the most common sim, and for raids is usually the best indicator. It won't perfectly match up to fights, but it's a good indicator of the raid damage that you'll do, and is largely based on single target damage. Now, if you're more interested in maximizing your AE damage, for instance, you do Mythic Pluses more than you raid, what you can do is change this fight style from Patchwork to Hectic Ad Cleave. This is a good simulation for Mythic Plus and what your AE damage will look like. But really, these are the only two options you really should concern yourself with unless you really want to dive into the deep, dark recesses of how to simulate a character. We're just going to leave this on Patchwork for the moment. And we're going to hit Find Top Gear. Now, I am on the free plan for Raidbots. I didn't pay any money to them. And so there is a free option, but you do have to wait in line. So here we're going to be waiting in line for a little while it's the people who are on the free plan in front of us get to do their simulations, and then we'll see the results of this and talk through them. As you can see here, it also gives you an estimated wait time. Generally speaking, what I do is once this screen pops up, I just go and do something else for a little while and then come back and check this. So that is the easiest way to handle it, I think. Now, the good news for a lot of these options, like which enchants you want to use, which style of fight you want to simulate against, Patchwork versus Hectic Ad Cleave, many of these options get saved for you automatically by Raidbots so that you don't have to go in and do them for the same character again and again. It will remember that, you know, for instance, crit is your top stat, and so you want to use crit gems in any piece. Those will be pre-selected for you on that top gear screen. Since I haven't done much simulation with this character because he's fairly new, none of that stuff is pre-selected. And I chose this character because that's likely to be what you see if you haven't used Raidbots too much before. Getting pretty close now, down to into the hundreds. While this is going on, I will pop over to a different tab of Raidbots here and just talk about some of these other options that you have. So Top Gear is the one that we're currently using. This lets you compare specific slots to see which gear pieces you have are better. There's Gear Compare, which lets you compare entire sets of gear. So let's say that you have a PvP set and a PvE set, and you're trying to figure out which one might be better for rating. Quick Sim, this uses your current gear and just does a simulation to try and give you an idea of what your maximum DPS is. I'll say right now, whatever it tells you your maximum DPS is, it is unlikely that you as a human will ever be able to do quite that much damage, but it does give you an idea of what your relative maximum potential is. There's also Talent Compare for comparing different talent builds. Remember, you can use this to kind of play around to see with your current gear and conduits and soulbinds, you know, how different talents would compare in single target or AoE. And then finally, stat weights. So new to Shadowlands, not new to WoW in general, but with Shadowlands, there are soft caps on each of your secondary stats. This means once you get your stat past a certain amount, you start to get less value from that stat as you add more of it. This means that even though your class might have certain stats that are good for them, there will be points where at a certain gear level, that stat is going to lose some of its value. So using the stat weights option can be a good way to figure out, based on your current gear and where your character currently is, what stats are most important to you in order to improve. This may look different than what you'll see on Icy Veins. Another good way to think about this is many classes have a certain amount of haste, especially the melee classes like Rogue and Monk, where below a certain amount of haste, haste is the most important stat for you. But then once you get past like 10 or 12% where you won't have any gaps in your rotation, then the importance of haste quickly drops off. So the stat weight's really good way to find out what the stat weights for your character at your current gear look like. All right, let's pop back over to our other tab here. You can see that now this has finished. And the way to read this is, it's currently showing my equipped gear for my Warlock. Any slot that is not highlighted means that this is just the current gear I'm wearing is the best for that particular slot. So if we come down here, we see it's suggesting in this highlighted spot that I choose the Wand of Arboreal Artifice from my Great Vault. Now, why is that? If we look below, Raidbots is going to give us a breakdown of the different combinations that it tried and the difference between that combination and other combinations. So as an example here, this specific combination of choosing the wand from our Great Vault gives us plus 19 DPS in the sim. Just below that, using the current Fleshcrafter's Knife we have and choosing the offhand from our Great Vault gives us plus 14. Choosing the wrist from our Great Vault gives us plus 12. And taking the staff from our Great Vault gives us plus 4. Now the reason that plus 4 is in blue here is that there is a margin of error of about 5 to 6 DPS in these simulations because it's not perfect. It's running many simulations of you fighting this monster and averaging them together. So there's a statistical margin of error. So this plus 4 means this is within the statistical margin of error. So there's no guarantee that this staff is actually an upgrade for us. Below that we see current gear, and this is our baseline that it's comparing these plus 19, plus 14, and plus 4 with. And there's actually nothing below current gear, but in the case where something was actually worse than what we have currently equipped, it would show those combinations below this line, along with negative numbers of like -5, -10, whatever that is, to show us how much DPS we would lose by taking that piece. And that's it. Once you get to this screen, it's going to highlight any pieces that it thinks will be DPS increases for you, and then you can just use that to help you make your choices. Now remember, Raidbots doesn't know things like, you know, if you play multiple specs, what would be useful for more than one spec, or you know, other preferences that you may have for your character. But in general, it's a pretty good way of finding out what piece you can take that is going to increase your DPS. All right, that's it. That's all there is to it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope this helps you.